There was a time when every city in the world kept its own time. Noon in one town could be several minutes different from noon in the next. And for most of history, that wasn't a problem. People lived locally, they worked locally, and the sun above their town was the only clock they needed. But in the 19th century, something changed. Trains began moving faster than time itself could stay organized, and suddenly, the world needed a new system. Before time zones, there was something called local solar time. It was simple. When the sun reached its highest point in the sky, it was noon. Every town followed its own version of that moment. So if you traveled west or east, even a short distance, the time changed slightly. Not by hours, but by minutes. In a world without fast travel, nobody noticed. A difference of a few minutes didn't matter when journeys took days or weeks. Time belonged to each place, and each place kept it differently. For centuries, this worked perfectly well, until people began moving faster than the sun. The arrival of railways changed everything. For the first time in history, people could move quickly across long distances in a single day. And as trains connected cities, something unexpected happened. Time stopped lining up. A train leaving one city at noon might arrive somewhere else before noon, at least according to the local clocks there. Schedules became confusing, connections were missed, and in some cases, trains traveling on the same tracks were operating on different local times. That created something far more serious than inconvenience. It created danger. Railway companies suddenly needed a way to make sure everyone followed the same clock. So instead of changing trains, they changed time. The solution began with the railways themselves. In the late 19th century, railway companies in Britain and North America started introducing what they called standard time. Instead of every town using its own solar clock, entire regions began following a single shared time. At first, this idea felt unusual. Local communities were used to setting their clocks by the sun, not by distant railway offices. But the advantages were obvious. Trains ran more safely. Schedules became predictable. Travel became easier. Slowly, cities began adjusting their clocks to match the railways. And once they did, there was no going back. As railways spread across continents and ships connected distant ports, another question appeared. If regions were going to share time, where should time begin? In 1884, representatives from around the world gathered at the International Meridian Conference to decide exactly that. They chose a line running through Greenwich, near London, as the starting point for global time. From there, the Earth was divided into 24 time zones, each roughly 1 hour apart. For the first time in history, the world had a shared system for measuring time. Not because the planet changed, but because human movement did. At first glance, time zones seem simple. But if you look closely at a world map, something feels slightly unusual. Time zone boundaries don't follow straight lines. They bend around borders. They shift across countries. Sometimes they even split cities in half. That's because time zones don't just follow geography. They follow politics. Some countries choose a single time zone to stay unified, even when their territory stretches across thousands of kilometers. China, for example, uses only one official time zone, even though geographically it could have several. Other countries divide themselves into many zones to reflect their size. And in some places, time zones don't even change by full hours. They shift by 30 minutes, or sometimes just 15. Time, it turns out, is not as precise as it seems. Today, time zones feel natural. We check the time without thinking about how it was chosen or why it looks the way it does. But the system we rely on every day wasn't created by the movement of the sun alone. It was shaped by railways, politics, navigation, and global cooperation. Time zones were designed to make a fast-moving world possible. And once they were created, they quietly became part of everyday life. The Earth still rotates the same way it always has. The sun still rises and sets as it always did. But the way we measure time has changed completely. What began as a practical solution for train schedules eventually became the structure that organizes modern life across continents and oceans. Time zones may feel permanent, yet they are simply lines people drew to make the world easier to navigate. And once you notice them, it becomes clear that even something as simple as the time on your clock is part of a system someone, somewhere had to invent.